church. Should have came and visited you. I should have been a better...
What's going on?
Hey.
What's wrong with that kid?
The story begins with a man named Eddie Palmer returning to his hometown after years away. When he arrives at his grandmother Vivian's doorstep, she embraces him with genuine relief and happiness. Eddie settles into his old room, which looks untouched by time. Through the window, he notices the neighbors, Shelley and her young son Sam. Their home life is clearly troubled, and Vivian admits that if it weren't for the boy, she would have forced Shelley and her boyfriend out long ago. While Eddie eats, his grandmother encourages him to find work and rebuild his life, reminding him that dwelling on the past will only hold him back. The next day, Eddie begins his search for employment, a requirement of his parole, but discovers that finding a job is far more difficult than he expected. That evening, frustrated, he drinks at a bar and reconnects with old friends. They reminisce about his football days, noting how his achievements were once the pride of their town. Even Coles, who is now the sheriff, expresses hope that Eddie's life might finally straighten out. Shelley later appears at the bar and quickly turns her attention toward Eddie. The following morning, Eddie steps outside the trailer and Vivian is taken aback by what she sees, clearly disappointed in his choices. By mid-morning, she wakes him to accompany her to church, where Sam also joins them inside. Parishioners whisper among themselves at the sight of Eddie, while Sam struggles to interact with other children. After the service, Daryl notices Sam's behavior and quietly points out that the boy acts more like a girl. Back at home, Vivian serves Sam food with her usual kindness, while Eddie remains stuck in the mindset he carried from prison. The next morning, Vivian hands him a small shopping list and some money. Eddie feels ashamed accepting it, but he has no income yet. Before leaving, he observes Shelley driving off with her boyfriend. At the store, Eddie notices a job posting, but the manager dismisses him abruptly, likely because of his criminal record.
Hello. Would you like an...
Yeah, sure.
I filled that position. Okay. Just forgot to take the sign. Good to see you.
I'm sorry.
It's fine.
Meanwhile, Sam sits happily combing Vivian's hair. When Eddie returns, Vivian informs him that Sam will be staying with them again because Shelley has left. Eddie sees Sam playing with dolls and disapproves, but the boy remains unconcerned. During dinner, Vivian asks Eddie about his job search, unintentionally pressing his frustration further. Matters worsen when she accuses him of stealing. Later that night, Eddie sees a bar posting for a janitorial position and goes for an interview the next morning. He is initially rejected due to his conviction, but he pleads his case. He explains that during 13 years in prison, he never violated the rules, and before that, he excelled academically and athletically at the University of Louisiana. Impressed, the school principal promises to consider his application. That evening, during dinner, Sam tells Vivian she had been wrong to accuse Eddie of theft. Soon after, Eddie receives news that he has been hired as a school janitor. Sam, who studies there, continues to get along well with girls but struggles with boys. His teacher, Maggie Hayes, frequently defends him. Eddie and Vivian continue attending church each Sunday. Some community members suggest that Vivian should contact Child Protective Services and place Sam in foster care, but the idea deeply offends her. One morning, Eddie finds Sam watching fairy princess cartoons and playing with dolls, claiming Vivian is still asleep. Concerned, Eddie checks on his grandmother and discovers the worst. Vivian has passed away in her bed. Her funeral is held shortly after. Vivian, a respected and beloved figure in the community, is mourned by many. For Eddie and Sam, Vivian's passing is a great loss. Eddie's employer tells him he does not need to come to work the next day. At home, Sam sits quietly, going through Vivian's makeup bag. Eddie didn't say anything to Sam and went to the bar, returning home late. Vivian's belongings were still in their usual places, and Sam slept peacefully on the couch. In the morning, Eddie took Sam somewhere, and the boy didn't understand why he was told to pack his things. Eddie brought him to the police station and explained to Coles that Shelley had been gone for 2 weeks and wasn't answering calls. Coles said he would contact Child Protective Services, meaning Sam would be placed in an orphanage.
About 2 weeks now. I had him this whole time. Can't take him home. I mean, Emily alone is a hand for a little bit longer. You got the... He ain't my problem. Put in a call to child service. Go in the system.
Seeing Eddie leave, Sam grew worried, and Eddie himself didn't know what to do. Eventually, they returned home. Eddie now had to take care of Sam. The boy proved to be independent, getting ready for school and getting on the bus himself. Eddie went to work, using it to distract himself. Later that day, Sam's teacher drove him home to check his living conditions. Eddie grew nervous when she arrived. While Sam watched cartoons about fairy princesses, Maggie asked Eddie if he was managing. She also didn't know where Shelley was. Maggie left him her number in case he needed help. All evening, Eddie tried to reach Shelley but couldn't. He didn't want to be a caretaker, but there was no one else for Sam. The boy always stayed close to his dolls and asked Eddie if he knew when his mother would return, but Eddie had no answer. Eddie barely knew his own mother, and he missed his father, who had passed away long ago. Vivian had always missed him too. After wishing Sam goodnight, Eddie looked through a scrapbook filled with old family photos and newspaper clippings from his football days. In the morning, Eddie drove Sam to school. Sam mentioned that he loved watching cartoons about fairy princesses more than anything, and that his mother had bought him a princess lunchbox on sale. Later, Lucille asked Eddie if he minded Sam playing with their daughter Emily, explaining that Sam considered Eddie his father and wanted to make sure it was okay. Eddie didn't object, though the situation felt strange to him. At 5 in the evening, he returned to pick Sam up. Lucille invited him inside, and although he didn't want to, he accepted to avoid being rude. He ended up participating in a toy tea party and was relieved when they finally left. Eddie still found it unusual that Sam bonded more with Emily than with other boys. That evening, Eddie decided to take Sam to a football game and told him about his past as a player. Maggie was also there and mentioned the idea of going bowling together. When they took their seats, Daryl reminded Eddie to stay away from Shelley, insisting she caused nothing but problems. Eddie wasn't interested in Shelley, he was focused on Sam. On the field, a new champion was present, the one who had broken Eddie's record. Eddie asked Daryl if he knew where the Westlers were living now. Eddie had tried to find the father and son, but without success. Daryl advised him to leave the past behind and still believed Eddie had been imprisoned unfairly, since that boy bragged about how wealthy his father was. Meanwhile, Sam tried imitating the cheerleaders' moves. After the game, Eddie took Sam home and later went to the bar, where he drank with friends. Daryl, drunk, began behaving inappropriately, irritating Sibs. Eddie pulled him away before things escalated. In the morning, Sam woke him up, reminding him they were supposed to go bowling with Maggie. While Sam was enjoying his time with Emily, Maggie and Eddie talked for a while. Eddie mentioned that he had spent a year in university before life took him in a completely different direction, and Maggie shared that her move back home followed an unsuccessful marriage. Eddie was settling into the responsibility of looking after Sam. At work, he apologized to Sibs for Daryl's behavior. Principal Forbes later checked in with Sam, asking if he was comfortable living with Eddie, though Sam didn't understand why he was being questioned. Eddie continued reporting to the police station regularly as part of his parole. He and Sam spent most of their days together. One afternoon, Sam asked why Eddie kept visiting the police. Eddie admitted that years ago he had tried to take money that wasn't his and paid the price for it. Sam then revealed that he had taken a toy from a classmate and felt guilty. Eddie told him he would feel better once he returned it. Gradually, Eddie realized he had found purpose in caring for the boy. The next morning, they made breakfast together, and Eddie stopped Sam from eating only sweets. Sam later returned the toy just as Eddie suggested. Sam's birthday arrived, and Maggie and Emily came to celebrate. Eddie gave him a ukulele, which the boy appreciated even though he wasn't into music. While the children played, Maggie asked about Eddie's mother, and he explained that she left when he was 5, leaving Vivian to take that role. Maggie helped sort through the mail, and they found a letter from a lawyer about Vivian's will. Vivian had left her home and belongings to the church, meaning Eddie would have 30 days to move out once the house was sold. At school, Sam became a target for classmates who teased him for being different. Eddie stepped in, and the bullies backed off. Later, Sam said he wanted to apply to a fairy princess show. Eddie tried to discourage him, but Sam didn't see an issue. For Halloween, Sam chose a princess costume, and Eddie couldn't talk him out of it. An older woman accused Eddie of being unfit to care for Sam. Sam defended him, which meant a lot to Eddie. At school, Sam proudly announced he would dress as Princess Penelope for the holiday. His classmates mocked him, but when the teacher arrived dressed as Mr. Forbes, the teasing stopped. That evening, Maggie invited Sam and Eddie for dinner. While Sam enjoyed his sweets, Maggie asked Eddie what had led to his prison sentence. He explained that after an injury ended his football career, he fell into bad behavior. A boy in their group often bragged about the cash in his father's safe, and during a break-in attempt, the owner returned early. Eddie attacked him, which changed the course of his life. Sam fell asleep afterward, and Maggie offered Eddie a place to stay for the night. After school, Emily invited Sam over again, and he happily accepted. During a quiet moment, Eddie went online to research how to become Sam's legal guardian. Later, he went to see Maggie at her classroom to ask for help with arranging the donation of Vivian's belongings. Before they could discuss anything further, Sam suddenly ran inside the house in tears. It turned out Sam had been hurt by Daryl. Eddie refused to ignore it.
Grandmother would have loved that.
What the hell is...
Cried. I don't even know what happened.
Hey, buddy. See what happened? Ones that pick on you? Were they over? I know you don't want to hear this.
Bigger than me.
I know. Say, you can tell us.
Toby's Daryl.
Even though Maggie tried to stop him, he still went to the bar. There, Daryl tried to excuse himself by calling Sam abnormal, but Eddie struck back at him. The other men had to pull Eddie away. He then warned Coles that if he didn't put an end to this behavior, he would report both him and Daryl as accomplices in the old crime. When Eddie returned home, Maggie immediately realized what had happened. She reminded him that conflicts could be resolved without violence, and when she saw he wouldn't change his mind, she left. The next morning, Eddie reassured Sam that none of it was his fault and that Daryl's actions came from being a bad person. Eddie then helped Sam write a letter to the Fairy Princess show, something the boy had always dreamed of but never received support for. Their work was interrupted by a knock at the door. Shelley appeared, looking unwell but determined to take Sam home. Sam was upset, and Eddie told him he could visit any time. They embraced before Sam left. Eddie was troubled by the situation but understood Sam belonged with his mother. Seeing the ukulele, Shelley realized she had forgotten her son's birthday and pretended she had a gift as well. Eddie tried to keep busy with work, but the loss weighed on him. He later approached Maggie to tell her Shelley had returned, but the conversation did not go well. Attempting to clear his mind, he went to the bar but changed his mind and left. The next morning, he found Sam on the porch, upset because his mother's boyfriend had thrown away his lunchbox and believed the boy brought shame to the family. Eddie comforted him and prepared to drive him to school. Sam mentioned that he and his mother would soon be moving in with Jerry, which would mean transferring to another school. Eddie spent the day thinking about it, realizing that Jerry was no better than Shelley. That same day, Eddie learned that Child Protective Services had taken Sam. While Shelley cried at the station, the caseworker said a hearing would take place on Monday to decide whether Sam would return to his mother or be placed in an orphanage. That evening, Eddie went to the trailer and asked Shelley to give him custody. She became angry, insisting he was no better than she was. Eddie tried to explain that the court would not return Sam to her because of her condition, but Shelley shouted that she would change for her son and forced him to leave. Left with no other option, Eddie went to Maggie for help. She agreed to support him in court. During the hearing, the judge acknowledged that Eddie had reformed but stated that without permanent housing and the completion of his probation, he could not apply for custody. Eddie, overwhelmed, said he knew what abandonment felt like and wanted to be the one to care for Sam. The judge rejected his request.
I will not abandon. I promise you, I would ever have to worry about Sam.
Boy will remain under the care to regain custody.
Your Honor, real good care.
All right, that's my decision.
Suddenly, Shelley entered the courtroom, pleading for the judge to return her son. Since Sam struggled to interact with other children, she insisted he needed his mother. The judge agreed and sent Sam home. Each day afterward, Eddie heard arguments coming from the trailer. When he realized Shelley had returned to her destructive habits, he took Sam with him and drove for a long time before stopping at a gas station. Eddie called Maggie and found out that Shelley had reported him. He was now wanted and the law would favor her as Sam's mother. Eddie promised Sam things would be okay before turning himself in. Coles recognized Shelley's unstable state and planned to temporarily place Sam with Maggie. Eddie was then arrested. Seeing this, Sam begged the officers not to take him and shouted at his mother for never loving him. Sam chased the police car for a long distance, crying as it drove away. Eddie, struggling to stay composed, found himself back behind bars. Before long, Coles arrived at the cell and informed him he would be released. Shelley had changed her statement, saying she had asked him to take Sam out to buy food. With that correction, the case against Eddie was dismissed, and the two men considered their past issues settled. After leaving the station, Eddie went straight to Maggie, who was caring for Sam. Later, Shelley showed up at the door, but Sam refused to speak to her. She admitted she had thought everything through and chose to give Eddie custody, believing he could offer her son a better life. Although the decision was painful, she knew it was the right one. She embraced Sam before leaving.
If you live with Palmer, he cares about you so much. I'm struggling now. Of you.
Eddie was now able to become Sam's legal parent. His job continued smoothly, and he and Sam prepared to leave Vivian's house. When they checked the mailbox, they found a letter addressed to Sam from the Fairy Princess show, and he was thrilled to receive it. And with that, the movie ends. Let us know in the comments how you like the explanation. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.